Hi all, in this video I will try to discuss Dhanishta nakshatra. So the Dhanishta nakshatra varies from 23 degree 20 minutes Capricorn to 6 degree 40 minutes Aquarius. So you can find the first two padas of Dhanishta nakshatra be in Capricorn, and the padas 3-4 of Dhanishta nakshatra you can find in the sign of Aquarius. So basically Dhanishta is the third Mars nakshatra in the whole nakshatra series. Mrugasira, Chitra, Dhanishta, these three are the Mars related nakshatras. So you can find more of this particular Martian energy in Dhanishta nakshatra. If you observe in the sky, this particular Dhanishta nakshatra consists of 4 stars. Every nakshatra of course consists of some stars. So nakshatra is also called as the constellation in the language English, you can say, and here there are 4 stars in the Dhanishta nakshatra. So brightness of a star is inversely proportional to the visible magnitude of a star. So basically when the visible magnitude is lesser, the star appears more and more brighter. So if you observe the 4 stars that are present in the Dhanishta nakshatra, so the minimum magnitude, the minimum visual magnitude of one of the stars is 3.63. So visual magnitude is a bit higher here. So basically the star means the brightest star in the whole 4 stars of the Dhanishta nakshatra is not so brighter, but still it is very much easier to identify this whole Dhanishta constellation in the sky because it is present in the dark space region in the sky. So basically it's very easy to identify it. Of course, anyways, we are not going into the deepest details of this particular nakshatra here. Astronomical, we are not going into the astronomical details of this one, but we will try to understand the energies as perceived by our ancient sages. So basically, of course, if you want to know the 4 star names here, the names Alpha Delphini, Beta Delphini, Delta Delphini and Gamma Delphini are the names given to the 4 stars present in the Dhanishta nakshatra. So these are basically called as Delphinis. So if you observe this particular constellation, this particular nakshatra in the sky, it appears like a rhombus. A geometrical figure associated with this particular nakshatra is rhombus, and our ancient sages identified this particular nakshatra as a damaru. It's a damaru, means it's a drum, basically means the musical instrument. Drum is a symbolism of Dhanishta nakshatra. We'll talk about that in a minute. So some part of the Dhanishta energy you can find in Capricorn, means half of the Dhanishta is in Capricorn and half of the Dhanishta is in Aquarius sign, that is Dhanishta 1-2 padas are in Capricorn and Dhanishta 3-4 padas are in Aquarius basically. So what is the meaning of Dhanishta? Dhanishta is nothing but wealthy, the wealthiest, the most beneficent. That is the meaning of Dhanishta. So from the name itself, Dhana, the Dhana means the money, the auspiciousness and the prosperity you can associate with this particular nakshatra. So its alternative name in the ancient Vedic times, it was also called as Shravista. Shravista means the most heard of, the most famous. That is the meaning of Shravista. Just before Dhanishta, you could really see the nakshatra Shravana, right? So the name is in the sounding, it is very much in resemblance with this particular Shravana nakshatra. Stravista, Shravana, Stravista. See the sounding, right? So Dhanishta, once upon a time in the Vedic times, it was called as Shravista, right? Of course, leave the names, all the stuff, but if you observe name, the meaning of these names, Dhanishta means the wealthiest, the most beneficent, and the another name for Dhanishta is Stravista, which means the most famous and the most heard of. So it's something like, even though the people are not so, the Dhanishta people, whatever may be, their talents or skills, whatever, but by default they can become famous. By default they can become lucky at some part of the time in their lifetime, for sure. Even though they are skilled or not, it doesn't matter, they are luckiest. Maybe after marriage they may become luckiest, or they may so just because without their hard work also, there is a possibility that these people can become luckiest in their lives. That is the beneficent thing for this particular nakshatra. So now, see, almost all the scholars agree on the fact that musical drum is the main symbol of this particular nakshatra. So what is the drum? Drum means that there are several types of drums. Even tabla is a drum, mridanga is a drum, but our ancient Vedic seers identified the damaru. Damaru is the musical instrument of Lord Shiva. Here just see the connection of Lord Shiva here. So they purposefully they identified this particular constellation, they associated this particular constellation with the Lord Shiva's musical instrument, that is damaru, right? That is called as the damaru. As the damaru is the Shiva's favorite drum. So what is the drum here? Everything, whatever our ancient sages, the symbols they used, they used those symbols just to convey some information with the symbols. They just did not use the symbol just like that. They really want to convey some information with the symbolism that they used to give for a particular nakshatra. So damaru is the symbolism they gave for this particular nakshatra. So what is a damaru? Basically, damaru is a musical instrument. So there are two things that they want to say. That is, one thing is music, and another one is, the important thing is the hollowness. They used damaru as the main instrument because damaru has some hollowness inside. Inside there is an empty space, right? So what is the use of that empty space present inside the damaru? Even in a flute you can find empty space inside, inside the flute you can find empty space. And in one of the Vedic times, in some part of the Vedic times, they were using even the flute as another symbolism for Dhanishta nakshatra. So this particular hollowness, without hollowness the music cannot be created. So why they used this particular hollowness here? The hollowness is the symbolism of receptivity. When there is some hollowness, when there is some space, then only the receptiveness, then only there is a guarantee that something is going to be received, right? That hollowness is the symbolism of receptiveness. So Dhanishta people, when they are less evolved souls, they really hear something from others, and they may try to manifest their lives according to that. So that is the negative quality here. But when they are highly evolved souls, they can synthesize this, they can synthesize the divine plan. They can easily receive, the receptivity, their receptivity is very great, that they can easily receive the universal plan, right, the universal divine information, and based on that they can synthesize, right? So this is the fundamental thing here. So that is why they used damaru. Here. We will talk more about that in some time. So alternative symbol is of course flute, which again emphasizes the fact that music is produced through some hollowness only, in much the same way as celestial music is created through the hollowness of universal space. When there is a universal space, then only you can see some, the celestial music comes into the picture, right? So here the concept of receptiveness is more important here. They are very much receptive. That is one thing. They have the space to receive the things, right, and thereby they can manifest with the receptiveness, right. So the nakshatra, the ability to actually accomplish things like playing music and all those things are also very easy for them, right. So the highest expression here is the receptivity. So the receptivity allows these people uh, to have the universal mind, you know, to receive anything. So receptivity is the keyword here. So let's try to talk about more on the deity of this particular nakshatra, that is Dhanishta. So Dhanishta is actually the group of 8 gods. Those are called as Vasus, the Ashta Vasus. They are the main deity of this particular nakshatra. So what is Vasu? What is the meaning of Vasu? Vasu is nothing but superb, excellent, or wealthy. So these are the names, these are the meanings of the word Vasu. So what are the Ashta Vasus? Apa is the deity of Purvashadha nakshatra. So here you can clearly see there are several nakshatra lords coming into the picture, right. We will talk about that, but I will tell you what are the Astavasus here. Astavasus are Apa, that is the water. So he is the male deity, usually related to the water goddess of Purvashadha. Say male deity, people say male deity, but is the deity, the deity, whether it's male or female, leave about that, it's a water goddess, it's associated with Purvashadha. And another deity is Dhruva, another deity is Dhara. So I'm just saying goddess here for goddess of Purvashadha. So of course you can, there are different ideology, there are different ideologies on this particular word Apa. Some people take this particular Apa as a god of Purvashadha. Some people consider it as goddess of Purvashadha, right. So when there is a concept of god, there is no gender at all, but still some people try to perceive the god with some male energy, and some people like to perceive it as a female's energy. Whatever may be, the Apa is the first Vasu, and Dhruva, the third one is Dhara, the fourth one is Anila, and fifth one is Soma, sixth one is Anala, and seventh one is Pratyusha, eighth one is Prabhasa. These are the Astavasus. I will try to explain them in a compact way. So Apa is the water goddess of Purvashadha. When we talk about Purvashadha nakshatra, we actually talk about Apa also. So the second one is Dhruva. Dhruva means fixed. Dhruva is always translated to a fixed energy, and it is related to the pole star at any given point in time, right. It is always fixed. And the third one is Dhara. Dhara is nothing but the water flow, it's also called as the bearer, it's a stream of water. So it's you can just see the deity is very much similar to the man pouring water from a pot, right. The symbol of Aquarius, you can always find a man pouring water from a pot, that is the Dhara, the stream of flow. These are the representations of this particular Dhanishta energy. We'll talk about that in some time. So Anila, which translates into wind, Anila means wind. The deity is the same as Vayu, which is the wind god who is the ruler of Swati nakshatra, right. The Swati nakshatra, the deity is Vayu. So that is the Anila here, which is similar. And Soma, which translates into the moon, right. He is the same as the moon deity associated with Mrigashira. Soma is the moon deity basically. So the moon or moon deity, moon's energy is more here in the Soma. Soma is a goddess, it's a moon goddess, right. So it's up to you, moon god or moon goddess, right. So Anala, which translates into fire. So the deity is another manifestation of Agni. Agni is the deity of Kritika nakshatra. So Kritika nakshatra energy is also coming into the picture here. So another one is Anala, which translates into just now we talked about that. Anala is fire, that is Agni, right. So that's the goddess of god or goddess of Kritika, right. So Pratyusha is another Vasu, that is the seventh Vasu, is Pratyusha, which translates into dawn, right? The dawn is nothing but the early morning, right? The first rays that you see in the early morning, that is the representation here. So the first rays of the new rising sun, right? That is the representation. So Pratyusha, generally it is treated as the male counterpart of Usha, the solar goddess who rides in front of the sun. Of course, it is basically Pratyusha means first rays of the new rising sun, right? And Prabhasa is the eighth Vasu, which translates into light. So this is another solar deity relating to the morning time, the Prabhasa, right? So these are the Astavasus. So all these 8 deities carry within them the energies of different nakshatras basically. So this makes Dhanishta is a sort of it's a compendium or combined energy. It consists of the combined energies of alien nakshatras, specifically the Ashwini nakshatra, Kritika nakshatra, Mrigasira, Swati and Purvashadha. So these 5 nakshatras, if you mix these 5 nakshatras, then you can see the flavor of Dhanishta is a kind of, it's a mixture of these 5 energies, the Ashwini, Kritika, Mrigashira, Swati and Purvashadha, right? So these 8 Vasus are supposed to be wealthy and skilled at music. That is the main energy you can perceive. The commonality among all these 8 deities, if you observe, they are all wealthy and skilled at music. That's why if a person is having some Dhanishta energy, more Dhanishta energy, somehow the person would become luckiest in the lifetime, right? If the Dhanishta nakshatra, if the planet present in the Dhanishta nakshatra is not afflicted, the person can become very much luckiest at some part of time in his or her lifetime for sure, right? And without any effort also, without much skills also, the luck comes. Luck means what? Without putting any efforts, it comes to you. That is called as luck, right? No efforts needed, just like that you will get that boon, and that is a kind of luck. That is a pure luck, you can say. You can clearly say it's a pure luck, right? So that kind of energy is always present in Dhanishta nakshatra. If the planet present in the Dhanishta nakshatra is very good, if it is not afflicted, then it is very much definite that the person would become luckiest in some point of time in his or her lifetime. So the 8 Vasus, the commonality among these 8 Vasus are they are wealthy and skilled at music. So this conveys this nakshatra's mastery over the material plane and relates it with the musical functionings of the universal mind, right? So they are very much receptive. So when this Dhanishta nakshatra energy is much more prominent, even in the current planetary positions, let us say in the current planetary positions, Dhanishta energy is activated more. Then what happens is the planet can absorb the universal plan more. It becomes very much receptive, right? Because it gets that space to welcome the universal energy, the master plan, the universal plan, right? Let us say Jupiter is in Dhanishta. Then what happens? Jupiter automatically becomes very much receptive about the universal master plan, the divine information. Now let us say previously Jupiter was in some other nakshatra, it's not in Dhanishta. Let us say it is in Shravana is also a bit receptive. Let us say Jupiter is in some other nakshatra like Rohini. Maybe it is very good there, Jupiter is very good, comfortable in Rohini, but still it is not so receptive. The energy of Jupiter is not so receptive. But when it is coming into let us say after it is in Dhanishta nakshatra, let us say Jupiter is in Dhanishta, then this particular Jupiter is very much receptive. It becomes purely receptive about the master plan, about the universal plan, right? So especially this is probably the reason why a lot of scholars associated the science of astrology, with this particular nakshatra, which in a way is understanding the rhythm of the universe. What is astrology? Basically, astrology is the master plan that is already present, right? That is already present in the universe. So let us say God gave that plan to the planets or whatever, so they are now ready to implement the plan, so they have the universal plan with them. Now if one of the planets is in Dhanishta, then definitely the planet is very much receptive to accept the universal plan. Let me try to give an ideal situation where, let us say, all the planets, there are 9 planets, and let us say 8 planets are in Dhanishta nakshatra. Then what happens? There is something going on in the universe, that something is, the plan is ready by God, and that particular universal plan is now received by these planets. Maybe let us say when the whole universe was taking birth, and when the planets took birth, and now the God was ready with the universal plan. Now we could really think of an imaginary situation where all the planets, might be the time all the planets were in Dhanishta, because they had to receive the universal plan, they had to receive the divine information from the God. So when they become very much receptive, when they are in Dhanishta nakshatra energy, when they are with full of Dhanishta nakshatra energy, then yes, they are really now receptive, right, to consume all the information, to take or receive all the information. So that is the fundamental thing. Receptiveness is the fundamental thing here. So Shiva is the ultimate presiding deity of this particular nakshatra, Lord Shiva. So this can be easily understood from the fact that part of this particular nakshatra lies in Aquarius, a sign completely under the influence of Shiva. Aquarius is a sign where Shiva is very much, Shiva's energy is predominant there. Aquarius energy is Shiva's energy, right? So Aquarius energy, you can clearly see the similarity between Aquarius energy and Shiva's energy. Shiva is very much innovative. Shiva is the basic and fundamental thing of Shiva is destruction, right? Shiva always does the destruction, the act of destruction, with the help of Shakti, the Parvati. So without Parvati he cannot do it. It's something like you are here, but if you want to do something, you need some energy. Without energy you cannot do anything, right? Your work you cannot do without energy. So the energy is very much important to you. The same way Shiva has the duty of destruction, and he can do this act of destruction only with the help of Shakti. That is, Shakti is Parvati, and Parvati in its highest form is Mahakali, the furious destructive force, right? And in its more and more highest form, Mahakali can establishes herself as Dasha Mahavidya, right? That is the concept of the pinnacle of destruction, you can say, right? So without Shakti, without Parvati, without Mahakali or Dasha Mahavidya or whatever, this destructive forces, without that Shiva cannot perform his act, his duty. His duty is destruction, right? So Shiva's energy is much more, it's present in the sign of Aquarius. So Shiva has more qualities also. He dances, and music, he is associated with music, and of course he is more associated with dance. He is more associated with dance. It's called as Shiva Tandava, right? The dance form that Shiva does every time is called as the Shiva Tandava. He likes dancing, right? And music, of course, there is some music sense associated with this particular nakshatra, that is because of Damaru, right? But if it is more Aquarius energy, it's a kind of dancing form, you can clearly say. So the Dhanishta 3-4, right, is much more into dancing, you can say, and the Dhanishta 1-2 is much more into music, right? So such kind of conclusions we can make always, right? So you can easily understand from the fact that this particular half of this particular nakshatra is in Aquarius, the Dhanishta 3-4 are in Aquarius, Dhanishta 1-2 are in Capricorn. So ancient Puranic scriptures are full of stories of Shiva's immense musical ability, right? Shiva even while doing destruction does so in a graceful and rhythmical dance form. He does it with the music and with the dance, that is Shiva Tandava, right? So with the Nataraja posture, you can always find that Nataraja posture, right? So in a way, this particular nakshatra can be seen as a bridge between Vishnu's and Shiva's energy also, because Vishnu's energy is here in Capricorn. You can find a kind of Vishnu's energy, and Shiva's energy is in Aquarius. So it is something like half Vishnu and half Shiva form, which can still be found in some temples in India. You can find some in some temples, clearly you can find half Vishnu and half Shiva right idols. So Vishnu is related to the mastery of the material world, whereas the Shiva is related to the musical and destructive aspects, right? So Aquarius is more related to the Shiva's energy, whereas Capricorn is the Dhanishta Capricorn mainly. The Dhanishta Capricorn is mainly into, the Vishnu's energy, Lord Vishnu's energy. Even the sign of Capricorn, even Shravana Nakshatra is also related to Lord Vishnu. So Capricorn is a sign of Vishnu's energy, and Aquarius is a sign of Shiva's energy. So Dhanishta is purely half Vishnu and then half Shiva, right? So if you try to understand the nature and functioning of this particular nakshatra, much of the nature of this nakshatra can be derived from the nature and qualities of the 8 gods that we talked about till now, the Ashtavasus, right? So from Apa means the water goddess, the deity of Purvashada nakshatra, it derives its musical ability, the confidence, the invincibility means undefeatedness. Purvashada nakshatra is a nakshatra of victory, undefeated nakshatra, right? So that is called as the invincibility, right? And Purvashada nakshatra is by default it is aggressive. The people of Purvashada lagna or Purvashada moon, whichever is more prominent, by default they are aggressive, right? So that kind of aggressive behavior, there is warrior like disposition, you can say, right? So in its negative aspect can manifest as something like, it's a kind of stubbornness, it's a kind of vanity, you can say. So appearing to be very much proud, or right. So that kind of energy you can find here. In a negative aspect, it manifests like a stubbornness, or it's something like, appearing to be very proud, right? So that is the energy, but basically the energy from the Apa it gets is the music ability, the confidence, the invincibility, this kind of things, right? So this can sometimes lead this nakshatra to, this particular behavior in negative aspect. In negative aspect, it may give this kind of stubbornness. With stubbornness, they may take wrong decisions, and finally they may land up into some difficulties, right? So that is the energy it can get from Apa. Its positive is the music ability, confidence, invincibility, and the warrior like behavior. That is the positive thing that it can receive from the Vasu Apa, and the negative thing is stubbornness and appearing to be very proud. These are the energies if Dhanishta is afflicted, if the planet in the Dhanishta is afflicted, so that is going to manifest this kind of energy in a negative sense, right? So from Dhara, the second Ashtavasu, Dhara is a stream of water. It derives the wisdom. The positive aspect is wisdom, a charitable nature, and it is very much conversational ability also. So in its negative aspect, if if it takes the negative energy of this particular dhara, then it makes one a chatterbox. So they continuously talk and talk and talk, right, or having a tendency to disperse their energies in unconstructive ways. That is the energy. So Dhanishta energy is one of the complicated nakshatras in all the nakshatras, because it is taking energy from so many things. Eight vasus, it is taking the energy, and from each vasu it can take the positive thing or the negative thing, right? So it's a very complicated nakshatra. So if someone is having more and more planets in the Dhanishta nakshatra itself, it's really interesting to predict that kind of horoscope, right? So from Anila, so the third Astavasu is one of the Astavasus, the third one is Anila. This nakshatra derives its business related ideas, right, the resourcefulness and the motivation to accomplish the things. So in the negative aspect, this can make oneself seeking or generally worried about their own prospects, right? So worrying nature, it can take from Anila. There is a nakshatra that this particular nakshatra derives this kind of energy from Anila. In a positive aspect, it is very good for business, resourcefulness and accomplishing whatever things that they want to accomplish. So the another Astavasu is from Anala. It derives its energy, mental acumen or the discrimination power, right, it can get. Its negative aspect, it can make this nakshatra a bad tempered and consequently capable of hurting others. So that is the energy it can take from Anala. So from Pratyusha, it derives its radiance, because Pratyusha is nothing but the first rays that you see in the dawn, in the morning, early morning, right? So that how you feel about that first rays of the sun in the early morning, the radiance, the happiness, joy and hopefulness, these are the things that the early morning rays, they consist of this kind of energy, the joy and the hopefulness, because the early morning means what? It is giving a new day, that is a new hope, right? So there's a hopefulness is the energy there in the early morning rays, is a joy, a happiness, the radiance you can clearly observe. So the nature expresses this unbounded joyfulness through sunrise, basically. So this nakshatra actually usually tries to accomplish through music and dancing. So that music and dancing, clearly this vasu, the pratyusha, the vasu pratyusha, so it's going to receive this kind of energy, right? So the music and dancing. So from prabhasa, it derives its light-heartedness and also the purity, good nature and all these things. So from prabhasa, it takes most of the positive things, and from pratyusha also it takes most of the positive things only. There are no negative things that it can take from as pratyusha and prabhasa. So from soma, it derives its gentleness and sensitivity. Soma is the moon related god or goddess, so you can clearly see the gentleness and sensitivity. Moon is related to this gentleness and sensitivity only. So which sometimes can manifest as it's a fickle mindedness or some kind of deceptiveness, the extreme indulgence, all these things. So that is the negative things that this nakshatra may take from soma. So Dhanishta is all about living a good life. So whatever we talked about here, we did not talk about anything really spiritual or anything about skills, or we are not at all talking about all those things, right? Whenever we are talking about the Dhanishta energy, we are only talking about, the life, all about the life, right? So how to live a good life, that is the main things that we're talking about. We're not talking about the skills, we are not talking about something like spirituality or kundalini or all these things. We're not at all talking. Whenever we talk about Dhanishta, we talk about the materialism or the good life. About the good life we talk about dance, about music, about fine arts we talk about, right? So the materialistic things only we talk about whenever we talk about this particular Dhanishta nakshatra. It's all about living a good life only, right? So it is not easy to put the Dhanishta personality in a box, because it is taking the energy from 8 vasus. So it's very complicated nakshatra. That's what I want to tell you. It's not easy to put it in a box, but you can always put Dhanishta nakshatra on material energies only, right? But the spiritual energy is something like taking the divine plan, taking the divine information. This kind of energy is helpful in predicting the world events. But the kind of transformation they may have, if some planet is in your 8th house and that is in the Dhanishta nakshatra, then just imagine they can be very much receptive. They have a lot of receptiveness to actually welcome the divine information, right? So that can be one possibility of being this particular Dhanishta energy, be very spiritual. But unless having some 8th house planet, the 8th lord, or this Dhanishta is in the 8th house, until and unless this kind of things happen, generally the Dhanishta is all about living a good life. It's a materialistic thing, right? Mostly it is materialism. So it has many diverse aspects, if you observe, to its nature, because it is taking the energy from 8 vasus, making it one of the most expressive among all the nakshatras. The expressiveness, the materialistic things, right? So it has an ability to adapt itself to any situation in which it finds itself. Very much adaptive. The nakshatra is very much adaptive because it has so many things it can do, right? It's something like the person can be very good at mathematics, and at the same time he can be working as a simple shopkeeper, and at the same time you can find the person the same person in something like in a flower market, and he's selling flowers. You can find the same person as a very great dancer. Somewhere you can find him, and also you can find him playing music somewhere, right? So this is all about life, the materialism only. But you cannot fix this particular energy in a single variety, but it has multiple energies. At the same time, these people are luckiest also. That is one important notable things here. So it has many diverse aspects, as we discussed, right? So those born with Dhanishta in the ascendant, means Dhanishta in the lagna, right? So they are very usually carry a rich, liberal, radiant expression on their faces. So they have that confidence, that nobility, and all the stuff. They have a peculiar, captivating smile, which conveys a feeling of deep satisfaction at some inner level. The smile is very beautiful. You know, the smile of Dhanishta people it's very beautiful. It gives you some kind of satisfaction. You feel like seeing the smile again. The kind of smile is very much beautiful, right? It's a bliss kind of thing. So in some cases they can have some roving eyes also, but the smile is very important here. A smile is it gives some inner satisfaction for the watchers. So being good conversationalists, Dhanishta natives can always put the other person at ease very quickly. So the kind of ease with which they talk, you know, that it can put you on. It can put you on in the sense it can make you very much comfortable. You also feel like talking to them. Once they start talking to you, you also feel like talking to them. They can put you in this condition very quickly. Some people, when they talk, you may not feel very much comfortable in responding, or you may not feel very much comfortable to be in tune with the person in the conversation. But these people, the Dhanishta people can make you very much comfortable. Then they can make you comfortable very quickly, and you also feel like talking to them. You feel very nice, right? So this will hold more true of those natives who are born under the Aquarius part of this particular nakshatra compared to the Capricorn, means Dhanishta 3, 4, they have this qualities, the conversation qualities. They are the good conversationalists, you can say, right? So the Capricorn part has more worldly orientation and thus lacks in the more refined and divine aspects. So Capricorn is purely materialistic, right? Compared to Aquarius, Capricorn is the 100%, it's completely materialistic behavior they have, the Capricorn people, right? So but this Aquarius has some kind of divine information associated with it, right? So compared to the Capricorn, you can find this kind of conversationalists, that kind of they can put you on in a conversation very easily, right? There is the Aquarius energy related Dhanishta, the Dhanishta 3, 4, right? So all those who have this particular Dhanishta happening in their chart, having Dhanishta Lagna or Dhanishta moon, or a very good planet, a very auspicious planet, something like a ninth lord sitting in the Dhanishta, right? So it's a very auspicious thing, ninth lord, and at the same time ninth lord of a Mula Trikona sign, right? Ninth lord, and the sign, it's better if it is a Mula Trikona sign, right? So anyways, you can take it as, for general purposes, you can take it as a ninth lord. So when ninth lord is also present in the Dhanishta nakshatra, so you can clearly understand, right? So one way or the other have a good sense of rhythm and enjoy music and dance, especially the Aquarius ascendant, the ascendant falling in the Dhanishta 3, 4, also can be the moon which is falling in Dhanishta 3, 4, right? That is also having a good sense of rhythm and enjoy music and dance. It is very easy for them to excel in these fields if they work at it. So the Aquarius ascendant people, if the ascendant is falling in this Dhanishta 3, 4, they can easily do excellent things in music and dance. So Dhanishta natives tend to be good at sports because rhythm, the rhythm is the keyword here, because see, when there is a receptiveness, when there is a concept of receptiveness, then comes the concept of rhythm. Without proper rhythm, the receptiveness is not so good, right? Even when this particular planets want to receive the information, right, receive the information, the divine information, let us say they are coming into Dhanishta nakshatra, and they can become very much receptive, they are in tune with the divine information, right? They are, so there must be a rhythm. Without rhythm, the receptiveness may not be very good. So rhythm is another word we always use when we talk about the Dhanishta nakshatra. See the energy, the words that we are using, the things that we're talking about dance, music, the rhythm, the receptiveness, the divine information, receptive, receiving the divine information. Also we are talking about the beautiful smile, the materialistic things, living a good life, right? So these things only we are talking about whenever we discuss this Dhanishta nakshatra. Sports, very good at sports, because sports, they also need a kind of rhythm. The rhythm is required, and timing, the timing of Dhanishta is very much perfect, because without proper timing, you cannot receive the information. The receptiveness may not be very good. So one thing I want to tell you, Dhanishta is a 200% receptive nakshatra. The receptiveness the planet, any planet, that if it wants to experience the 100% receptiveness, it has to come and sit in Dhanishta energy. That's it. So then it becomes very much receptive. So for dancing, music, fine arts, sports, for all these things, this rhythm and receptiveness is very much important. Even for the athletics, gymnastics, ball games, right? So for all these things, so natives are especially good at sports like gymnastics, where grace is a prerequisite. In the dance also grace is very important, right? So Dhanishta energy consists of all these things. So this is a very social nakshatra, especially the Dhanishta 3-4, which is falling in the Aquarius energy. There's a kind of socialism, social nakshatra, so which likes to be part of groups. So it is not a loner and likes to mingle with people. Since it is naturally ambitious and is always conscious of its dharma, it very rarely shows escapist tendencies. So escapism, it may not show, it may not escape from its duties. It is always try to, it is very much conscious about its duty, the Dhanishta energy. So it doesn't escape. The escapism tendencies, even though they are very present, they are very short. So they don't escape generally. They try to follow the dharma, right? They are always conscious about it, right? So it would rather confront things which can make it appear argumentative at times, right? Because they want to finish the dharma, they want to complete the dharma, right? So when moon occupies this particular nakshatra, the person concerned often goes for mates or partners who are very different in personality and outlook to them. They like this kind of personalities, right? So this obviously leads to a lot of conflict in these issues, right? So this can be seen to be the most true when moon occupies the Capricorn part of this asterism. The Capricorn, when moon is in Capricorn, that is in Dhanishta 1-2, Dhanishta 1-2 in Capricorn, when moon is in Dhanishta 1 or Dhanishta 2. So even a lot of scholars are, they are very much in common agreement regarding the peculiar property of this particular nakshatra in promoting marital discord. So why this is like that, especially in Dhanishta 1-2. So this particular nakshatra carries so many good qualities, of course, but such a thing does not make sense straight away, because just by saying the marital discord when moon is in Dhanishta 1-2, right, it may not be very much, it is not sounding very great. The person, Dhanishta 1-2, even the Dhanishta 1-2 person has so many good qualities, because receiving energy from Ashtavasus, right, then why the energy is very much promoting this kind of marital discord. So the Martian aspect of this asterism is responsible for this, right? So the Dhanishta nakshatra, the planetary ruler is Mars, right? So this Mars is responsible for that. We will talk about the marital discord in a minute. Why the Dhanishta Capricorn, that is the Dhanishta 1-2, has this kind of marital discord. So Mars is regarded as the most unfavorable planet for marital harmony, of course. So once again, the Capricorn part of this particular nakshatra has more problems in this marriage point of view as compared to the Aquarius part. So Dhanishta 3-4 are a bit luckiest compared to Dhanishta 1-2 in marriage aspect. So this is simply because Aquarius has a more accommodating nature as compared to Capricorn, right? So that is one thing, and these marital difficulties are usually enhanced when either Mars, Saturn, Rahu or Ketu are placed in this nakshatra. So when Mars is in Dhanishta 1-2, Saturn is in Dhanishta 1-2, Rahu is in Dhanishta 1-2, Ketu is in Dhanishta 1-2, that can also, that is actually, these are the main placements of this particular marital disharmony, right? So the Capricorn part of Dhanishta is not so good for marital harmony. So if this placement has some connection with the 7th house, let us say Saturn is in Dhanishta 1-2, Dhanishta 1 or Dhanishta 2, and that has become the 7th house. So it happens only for for Cancer ascendant people. For Cancer ascendant people, when Dhanishta becomes Dhanishta 1 2 means when this particular Capricorn is of course the 7th house, and if some planet like Saturn, Rahu or Ketu or Mars is sitting in the Dhanishta 1 or 2, then there is a marital disharmony you can predict. So most Cancer ascendants whose ascendant falls within the 16 degree 40 minutes to 30 degree, so have difficulty in married life, or sometimes don't marry at all, just because of the Cancer ascendants 16 degree 40 minutes to 30 degree if the ascendant is here, because the 7th cusp, if you directly see the 7th cusp means exactly where the 7th house starts, then you can clearly find it. The 7th house is clearly in the Dhanishta 1 2 region, right, very clearly. So that is where the marital disharmony is coming into the picture. Dhanishta falls on the 7th house cusp for them. That is the only reason. The Cancer ascendants having the ascendant degree falling in 16 degree 40 minutes to 30 degree, for them there is a probability of a marital disharmony, and especially if Saturn, Rahu or Ketu or Mars is present in this particular Dhanishta 1 2, right, then there is a marital disharmony, or they may not marry at all also. So those under the strong negative influence of the Capricorn part of Dhanishta often end up hating the opposite sex also. So they may not like the opposite sex at all, So if you see the Ramayana, Rama, so one of the Vishnu's avatars, so is regarded as the epitome of good conduct and righteousness, faced numerous problems in his married life, of course. In his chart, Mars is placed in the Capricorn part of Dhanishta in the 7th house. So he had to fight a big war also to rescue his kidnapped wife Sita, and even after things returned to normal, after that also he had to abandon her wife, his wife. So that is a bitter experience of Lord Rama, right? So there is a marital disharmony clearly. So Dhanishta always has the ability to tune into some source, because it is more receptive about the divine plan. So the most important aspect of this is the source it tunes itself into. So it is more receptiveness. So if the source is very positive, if the friends of this particular Dhanishta energy people are good, then yes, they hear a lot of good things and they may try to lead their life in a very positive way. But if the friends or if they are surrounded by very bad people, then the sources are very much negative and they may end up with very bad lives. They may but luck is always there for them, right? So even without doing much things also, luck comes to them. That is a more positive quality of Dhanishta. So that's why you can find the people having very bad behavior throughout their life, is at least to some part of the life they behave like thieves, or they are into some affairs or whatever, but suddenly they may get a chance to marry a very good person and suddenly their life changes. They landed up in a good field, they landed up in a good house, or means their life becomes better suddenly with some luck. Just marriage is an example I am telling you. Of course it is definitely true for Dhanishta energy, because Dhanishta is the luckiest one. The marital disharmony thing that we talked about was for Cancer ascendant people. Cancer ascendant people having the ascendant from 1640 to 30 degree, they have the 7th house as Capricorn, the last part, that is Dhanishta 1 2 part, right? So especially when in this particular Dhanishta 1 2 part, that is the 7th house, when Dhanishta 1 2 means the Capricorn becomes 7th house, and that too the Mars, Saturn or Ketu or Rahu is sitting in the Dhanishta 1 2, then only you can say there would be some marital disharmony, or they may not marry at all. But Dhanishta energy alone is good, alone is beneficial, right? I am talking about Dhanishta ascendant or Dhanishta moon people, right? They may have some good luck in their lives for sure at some point of time, and that can change their life, the life pattern. So what is the source they are surrounded by? That is the most important thing in the present day world, where media acts as the primary influence for the masses and provides them with so much of negative information. If they try to believe this kind of negative information, then they may have some negative impact, because these are the receptors. Dhanishta people are the receptors, the perfect receptors, the 100% receptors, right? So just to understand, just to note the receptiveness of this particular nakshatra, our sages try to say that, even when there is some divine information that God wants to send to these planets, then these planets come into Dhanishta. That is the way they can become very much receptive. Just imagine how our sages quoted this Dhanishta energy. So they just want to show the perfect behavior of Dhanishta. That's why they quoted this kind of thing. So whenever a planet wants to become very much receptive, when God wants to send some information to that planet, the planet comes and sits in Dhanishta nakshatra. That kind of statement we can make here. So Dhanishta is a perfect receptive, it's a receptor, it's a receiving antenna, you can say, right? So the primary influence, the influence is very much important here. So if it is surrounded by bad energy, it becomes bad. If it is surrounded by good energy, it becomes good, because it is a receiving antenna. It is just a receiving antenna. So if it is surrounded by very good, but of course it is always attracted to that music, dancing and all the stuff, right? The fine arts. So most Dhanishta energy based people, they find themselves tuning into these influences. Basically, influence is the word that we always use. So this is the reason why the higher expressions of this particular Dhanishta nakshatra, which come about by direct tuning with the universal mind, they are very much rare these days. The universal energy, because they are attracted to all these materialistic things, right? The mobile phones or whatever, the media, whatever going on in the world, they are attracted to that. So the reception is very much negative only these days. So these days you cannot find the Dhanishta nakshatra seeds, or because if they are not attracted to all the materialistic things, and if they are only surrounded by the great people, the great sages, then yes, they can become because they are the perfect receptors. Even the universal energy they can try to receive, right? Then they can become a very great sage or something like that. But in these days it is not possible for a Dhanishta energy person to become like that, because nowadays, of course, everybody is surrounded by a lot of negative things, a lot of may not be negative things, but a lot of things which are not at all be related to the spiritualities and all the things, right? Materialistic things, right? People are surrounded by. So they are the receptors of these particular materialistic energies, and before they come out of this materialistic energy, the magnetism and all the stuff, their life will be over almost. Then where is the question of spirituality for them? It's a bit rare, until and unless there is a painful event, and then they turn into some kind of they have the spiritual thoughts, and then they follow some spiritual path, then they can receive more and more spiritual information, and they may follow the path of liberation. It's a rare event, of course. So in the universal scheme of things, Dhanishta relates to the power to give fame and abundance. It has the Dhanishta energy has the power to give fame and abundance. So lucky star, you can say. So its symbolism has birth above and prosperity below, kind. So it's basically lucky star, one word instead of so beneficial and positive aspect of this nakshatra is the luck, the wealth, the luck. So Dhanishta can be seen as the is the peak of the worldly achievements, because if let us say if the Dhanishta person is doing some work, so if they, for the work, if they have to get some 70 marks, but they may get 90 marks also by luck. So peakest worldly achievements are possible with this particular nakshatra, because some people, they try at most, but they may get only 95 out of 100. But even if they try, if these people try 95, they will definitely get 100 out of 100, because that is a luck factor that they have. So worldly achievements are very much possible for them. The sports, in the sports it generally happens, you can see, right? Sports and fine arts, gymnastics, right? These people are very good for Olympics basically. So it goes without saying that only when these worldly achievements are in tune with the universal requirements, so then they may have a lot of meaning to the world. They become a very great inspirations to the world. Let us say the universal energy is trying to bring a person, a sports person, can be stood as a very great inspiration for the future generations. Then the universal energy may want to the place planets in some Dhanishta nakshatra, more Dhanishta lagna or Dhanishta moon or more Dhanishta energy, and then at that point of time the person may take birth, right? That person may become a very great sports person or a very great dancer or something, and are going to stand as the inspiration for the future generation. It's the concept, it's the idea of the divine information. If the idea of divine information is in such a way, then this kind of things happens. So Dhanishta energy is mainly related to the receptiveness, in tune, in rhythm, and this kind of energy, right? So we'll try to talk about this particular nakshatra in some other videos, in future videos. Thanks for watching this video.